welcome in to From the Tips. We have a special guest here tonight, Patrick. Appreciate you coming on, brother. How are you?
Doing well. I appreciate the invite. Ready to talk some Byron Nelson, some PGA Championship, and get into it.
There's lots of good golf going on. A relatively solid field for the week before a major, but it's good to see. Again, you can find on Patrick on NBC Sports Edge, NBC Sports Bet. I know you do some work over there. I follow a lot of your stuff. It's been fantastic. Let's just jump right on into it, man. What is your main takeaway here from round one in McKinney, Texas?
Yeah, I think coming into the week, there were kind of two storylines I was looking at. One being Brooks Koepka, kind of what his status is heading into the major next week, and the second being Jordan Spieth. He had COVID-19. See if there was any effects from that as well. And we kind of got both answers pretty quickly. Koepka in the morning looked not great. He limped around the golf course to, I think he finished at 1 under. And then, as we just saw with Spieth, bomb on 18 to finish at 9 with the legend that is JJ Spawn co-leading after round one. But the course was also a storyline coming into it. I know you said you worked there. If you want to touch on that a little bit.
Yeah. So I was a head pro at one of the courses down the road and got the opportunity to play. And of course, Trinity Forest, which held this tournament previously, they're both. I don't want to say TPC Craig Ranch is not a great golf course, but I also kind of expected anytime you're having a first, a tournament at a course for the first time, as far as the setup for the PGA, the first thing you want to do is you don't want to make it a hard grinding fest before the PGA at Kiowa, because that's exactly what that's going to be. Yeah. And it's just you don't know how to what side to err on when it comes to course setup. So it's, again, this course these guys are going to tear up. When you and I go play it, it's not nearly as easy. But yeah, it's to touch on the Brooks point and to your point all week, you've been kind of fading Brooks and I know we're amping up to major season. That's what Brooks does, blah, blah, blah. He still can't bend down to mark his ball at this point. He also is with somebody that would have right knee issues, is missing a lot of the balls to the left. It's just the way it works. You can't trust getting that weight back on the right side. So yeah, him shooting 1 under today is absolutely getting lapped by this field. And he's going to need a low number. This cut's going to be 3-4. It's going to go low. Yeah. Again, in Texas with no wind like they had today, these guys are going to feast on it. And Brooks Koepka to shoot 1 under is that's just not going to get it done. He's going to have to go low tomorrow, and it doesn't look like his health's there. And listen, he's out there trying, and we know he's going to play Kiowa. Kiowa is another golf course I got the opportunity to play. It's a long day out there. It's one of the hardest golf courses in the world. And so it's just going to be tough to even think of him competing. After what we saw today, he's certainly somebody that at this point, you look to fade. But yeah, you touched on Spieth as well there. And anybody that watches the show knows my love for Jordan Spieth. The COVID thing that we didn't know about, we heard earlier in the week, that get brought up. And he said coming down 18, he was super tired, which may be fatigue from that. Who the hell knows? It was a long day out there, but just picked right back up where he left off. Easily could have won the Masters, finished 50th and 54th in strokes gained putting in the field relative to the weekend. So he's been the most dialed in player in golf here in the last few months. I listened to he was up on the No Lane Up pod this previous week that I listened to. One of the things that stood out to me that I thought was interesting is he mentioned how, like, when he was in his funk, and lots of guys that have had success like him, when you're basically essentially rich, you can kind of use that as a crutch, and it's hard to get out of that funk. Spieth's always been one of the more transparent players on tour, but also switched to a newer version of the golf ball this week. I guess he was still hitting a 15X. I don't know how you still get your hands on those. But he switched up golf balls this week, and to your point, you got to really like where he's at heading into next week.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Grand Slam storylines are going to be through the roof. They'll probably be run over and over again by every golf pundit in the world. And it's hard not to like him. You know, if it does turn into a scramble fest or a place where you need to be very precise with your irons, I mean, he's been arguably the best iron player in the world over the past 2 months, and he can scramble with the best of them. So on paper, it should set up for him perfectly. And clearly, you know, COVID didn't affect him too much. And we kind of saw it with, you know, DJ in November at the Masters. He came off COVID right before, played the Houston Open, top 5, could have won there, and kind of rolled into the Masters. So it's tough not to like Spieth next week. And he looks really good right now.
No doubt he does. And golf's better when Jordan Spieth's playing well. I think that there's nobody on tour, even Rory, that moves the needle quite like Spieth does at this point, with, of course, you know, Tiger not, you know, being around, and who the hell knows when he's going to be. But yeah, just to look at this tournament so far, the leaderboard I expect to be completely different come 3 days from now. Lots of guys. Luke Donalds, who former #1 player in the world, is just, I mean, literally disappeared. Your guy JJ up there at 9 under.
Oh, yeah.
You got Doc Redman. Ben Martin hasn't been playing well. You know, for me, the way that I always kind of look at leaderboards like this, you think the cream's going to come to the top at over 4 days. Is there anybody, and I don't know if you have the leaderboard pulled up in front of you or not, is there anybody outside of those guys that really jumped out to you today?
I would just say how Bryson played this morning. You would think at a course like this, he'd really be able to take advantage of his distance off the tee, and that wasn't really the case. I think he played the par 5s on only 1 under, which is pretty poor, and he still finished at 3 under. He had an ugly double, I think on 10 or something.
It was very ugly.
I mean, he could easily get it going and post something like 8 under tomorrow and get to 11 under for the tournament. But I probably don't love adding anyone right now before the cut, just because, I mean, the cut it's probably going to be around 7 under. And so,
yeah, I mean, it could be crazy. I mean, this could get to 25 under without an issue if the wind doesn't blow, in my opinion, at least. It's funny you touched on Bryson. Yeah, the double on 1, he went from being greenside to just blading it over the green into no man's land where he couldn't stop the ball. But you're right. His 3 under was, he just wasn't good. The problem is when the driver's not getting in play, and this course should set up for him. And you're right. It 100% he could go off these next few days and get himself right back in contention. Because of his ability to drive the golf ball. These fairways aren't tight. There's room out there. There's birdies to be made. Got to be disappointed in his round today. But he's an interesting, and of course he's going to be high up on you know, the betting world next week as well. It's just, you look at what he does overall. He doesn't really have a flaw to his game, except maybe your 75 in shots based off because he's using a damn 7-iron length wedge.
Yeah.
But really he's like 12th in overall putting. There's really not a ton of flaws in his game. And I'm sure he's going to be somebody again that's probably going to be there next week. Let's touch on a guy and let me see if he got in the house here. Ricky Fowler, right? Peaked his head for the first round last week. Somewhat finished bogey to finish 1 under and then missed the cut. Looks like Ricky's still on 17. Do you see the light at the end of the tunnel with Ricky right now? Where are you at as far as Ricky Fowler moving forward?
What's he at currently for the day?
4, playing 18.
4 under?
Yeah.
Okay, good for Ricky.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's tough to tell. I think coming in the season, I convinced myself that either him or Spieth would figure it out, and I truthfully was in the Fowler corner, which clearly I'm wrong. So I am a Ricky fan, for better or for worse. But I heard someone, I think it was like Butch Harmon, talking about it one time, and how your golf game, you're kind of spinning plates, right? And you have 5 plates. You have your driver, your iron, around the green, putting, and mental. And, he's focused on those irons and his ball striking right now, and kind of his chipping and putting have, kind of taken a hit. So I don't necessarily see him kind of competing this week or next week, which I know people are mad he's even playing. I think I'm all for it. Like, those people can whatever.
I mean, it's an exemption, right? They can give it to whoever the hell they want to give it to. But the one thing, it's like, don't say it's based off performance and things, because like we know it's not, or official world golf ranking. But you're right. I mean, they want Ricky Fowler in the field, and we talked about speed. I think the game's better when Ricky Fowler's in the field. It's just, to your point, he's been working on so many different things with his swing. What once was and still, in my opinion, is one of the better putting strokes on all of tour. Those things have creeped down into his short game, to his way, around the greens, and his putting. I mean, his putting was abysmal last year, or into this year. I think he's down to somewhere in the 150s or 170s, and that's just a trickle down effect. And you know how it is when these guys, when he's in a bad way. Most of these guys, when you have a bad week or two, it's something small, a ball movement adjustment, move it up, move it back. There's like little small things that they can change and go from, missing cuts to shooting 65s. But I think with Ricky, it's just gotten so far out of whack with his swing itself that he's searching. He's got a 2-way miss, and it's just not going to stand up over 4 rounds, especially to your point, Kiowa Island. I mean, it's just not going to work.
No, he's going to find himself in the middle of the Atlantic more times than not.
Exactly. And who had a psycho scorecard today, which of course played with Spieth. Of course, we had the big boy Spieth style tourist, Scotty Scheffler. Scotty Scheffler made 0 pars on the back 9 today. Scotty Scheffler, in my opinion, goes as Scotty Scheffler's putter goes. And I think right now it's not in a good place. I mean, it's just streaky. He missed a lot of short putts today. He hits so many. I mean, he's going to win. And he's going to win multiple times. It's not if, it's when. But to make 5 bogeys around this place is just kind of sloppy play, in my opinion. And it's kind of surprising. I mean, he's still in at 5 under. I'm not saying that the guy completely shot himself out of the tournament or anything, but he could easily be at 8, 9 under as well, just with a little bit better play around the greens.
Yeah, I think he definitely still needs to clean up some parts of his game. That's kind of why he hasn't been able to win yet. I mean, he was close at the match play, close at the WGC workday as well. So, he can get up for these big events. I don't know if he'll get up for it next week. He could easily, clean it up this week and contend. I mean, 5 under, he's only 4 back with a ton of golf left to play.
No doubt.
And so, he's I've just fallen into the trap of betting people who don't win. And he's unfortunately been one of them.
Like, been in that trap long enough.
I mean, it's like Neiman, Answer. It's like, why am I spending money on these guys when there's guys who actually win?
It's tough because those guys, you look at their game and you bet golf and you talk about golf and you look at the stats, and it's like, those are the reasons you bet those guys, is because it's saying you have to bet. I mean, to an extent. Yeah. I mean, Abraham Answer and Joaquin Neiman are just too good to not win for a super long time, in my opinion.
Yeah. So, I mean, Scheffler's probably going to win sometime in the season. And we know Neiman won the Greenbrier a couple of years ago. But, I mean, this is kind of a tournament for him to do it at, right? If he just cleans up a little bit, he has a ton of firepower and he can make a ton of birdies. So,
he birdies, his birdie, he can fill it up and go low like very few other people on tour. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
And it's a home game, right? Mm-hmm. Which it's funny that Spieth's never won this event, being that it's a home game. Could add more pressure, could not. I saw, looking through your stuff this week, somebody else that was mentioned, and really nobody knew what in the hell to expect. Won the Masters. Has been, I'm assuming, on a party binge. I'm not sure, but I know that how big that was for him and his country. Actually looked better than I expected him to today. What do you think about Hideki? There's a few guys sitting there 4 under. Again, 4 under, not shooting yourself out of it. It's tied 52nd at this point. Were you relatively surprised the way he played today, or?
Yeah, I'd say pleasantly surprised. I know I have Spieth over him in a matchup, but yeah, he had to quarantine in a hotel room for 2 weeks. I think on the broadcast they said all he did was play Candy Crush the whole time, which is laugh out loud funny. Just imagining Hideki playing Candy Crush.
No doubt.
Probably just new high scores left and right. But he missed some easy putts, which kind of has been his crutch his entire career. But he had some wipey fades in there as well. But overall, the ball striking and his game looked solid. So you said he finished at 4?
Yeah, he's in at 4.
Okay.
And
yeah, that's right there. I mean,
yeah, no doubt. That's
if he posts like 65 tomorrow or something like that, he's right in the tournament.
No doubt about it. Yeah, it's funny because Hideki, I mean, there's no doubt about it. His putting's been what's kept it. I mean, in times when he's putted well, he's dominated. I mean, he has that kind of game. The pause in the swing has slowly started to go away. He looks less nervy over the putter and less like mechanic, it just seemed to me there was no athleticism. He didn't look freed up. He looked somewhat more like that. I do think a place like Augusta, for a guy like Hideki and a guy like Bubba, guys that, especially a guy like Bubba who dives the ball at the hole, right? Those super fast, slick greens, they're great for those guys because, on most courses, those putts don't go in. When you're at Augusta, it's more, hey, let's dive the ball at the hole. If it goes in, great. We're getting out of here with the 2-putt. Yeah, but no, I was surprised with Hideki too. Imagine winning the Masters, flying home, and then sitting in a hotel for 2 weeks. I mean, it sounds terrible. Yeah. Or his house. I don't know where he quarantined. But yeah, that's not great. And then somebody else I just want to jump on real quick at the 4 under range right there with Hideki. Recently had a child, John Rahm. Again, a guy whose game has no flaws. Runs a little hot under the collar at times. Today was one of those. And he'll let you know how he feels. I'm a little surprised John Rahm. I mean, he missed the cut last week, which was very surprising. He does not miss cuts. He's just not really piecing it all together right now when I'm watching him. What do you think from what you've seen of John Rahm, not just this week, but the last few weeks, of course, the MC last week?
Yeah, it's weird because when he arrived to Augusta, it was kind of like the most level-headed, peaceful, we've ever seen him. He kind of probably had a new perspective on life and all that. And then we see him last week at Quill Hollow, and I don't think I've seen him that riled up on a golf course before.
It went out the window quick, dude.
I don't know if fatherhood's, treating him too well. And he looked extremely tired in his press conference this week. And I don't know if he's playing this week just to, be in a hotel room by himself and, get some shut eye going into Kiowa. But he looks more riled up than usual, which I thought we were kind of past. And he had been working on it in the past. I think everyone kind of remembers that Players Championship on 11. Him and his caddy when he dunked it in the water,
which was just the worst decision ever and cost him a chance at the tournament.
Yeah, but yeah, I didn't really like him coming into this week just because his temperament at Quill Hollow was so poor, and if that carries into next week, a place like Kiowa will eat you up.
Yes,
especially if it's blowing 30, gusting to 40. So.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's tough because you're right. You think, oh yeah, we have this kid, and then he's talking how he's going to slow things down. But the problem is when the shit hits the fan and your game is shit, it's hard to hold it back, And Like you're right. He's a fiery guy. But it's just, again, statistically, it's hard not to pick him. But he's kind of been in a funk. I want to talk about a guy real quick that came to my mind. He's not in the field, but I want your opinion on him because I feel like recently, I mean, John Rahm's been way better, but Patrick Cantlay, I think, is an interesting player to me. Of course, I've heard rumors of him breaking away, whatever. The fact of the matter is he's been playing like crap. And again, a guy that's pretty rock solid everywhere you look as far as a player. What do you think's up with him? Do you expect? I mean, of course we should expect him to come back. He's a world-class player, but I'm a little surprised at his last month and a half, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, was it your guy's show that I think it was Guru? He said he broke up with his girlfriend or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if it's. I mean, listen, it may make some sense. But something's going on. His game is too rock solid for the way he's been playing recently.
Yeah. Admittedly, I have a soft spot for him. Weirdly enough, like a good friend of mine from college was like childhood best friends with him. So I might need to reach out and kind of get the details on that.
Put him on the couch, man. Sit him down.
Yeah. A little insider info. Like,
exactly.
Can I bet on this guy next week or not?
Stay away.
But like, I loved him at the Players. I loved him at Augusta. Got burned twice. Kind of learned my lesson going into Quail Hollow. Stayed away. Proved to be, the right choice. But yeah, like you said, there's no real flaw in his game, and right now it's like everything has a flaw almost.
He's had 16 different putters in the last a month and a half too. Every time I see him, who was a very good putter with just an old blade style putter, he's gone to he's going to mallet style. He's gone all different avenues trying to find something. And it's not just that his ball striking hasn't been that great. So I'm with you. It's it'll be interesting to see how or what he is going into next week. You pay attention to college golf at all? I mean, I'm not going to act like I'm a huge college nerd. But Cole Hammer, you may, Texas guy, badass name, 4 under, right there with the John Rahm or a Bryson. You had a chance to watch any of this kid at all in Texas?
I watched a little bit of the Walker Cup last week, so I saw him, and he's a phenomenal ball striker. Cole Hammer's kind of been around forever. It seems like. It
seems like he should be 30.
Doesn't it? Yeah. He's like the Perry Ellis of golf. It feels like.
No doubt.
But his weak spot is his putting, which is it's kind of crazy. It's everyone who's coming up. They've learned to just strike the ball like crazy and figure out the putting later. Hope to have a hot week here or there. It's a tall order to ask him to contend. I think a May cut is the goal, success. Right? Yeah. And then I think Strafacci was struggling today, if I'm not mistaken. And I know there was a stomach bug going around the team last week.
With both teams, apparently.
Yeah. Apparently he lost like 20 pounds.
Jesus, man.
And I know like Aaron Obelhauser is like on Golf Channel a lot, and I saw him like reply to a tweet. He's like, "It's water weight. He'll be okay." It's like, I don't know.
What does that even mean?
I don't know if he was like joking or exactly what was going on. Like, I don't know his personality enough. Fine. Like, just drink some water. He'll be good to go. Yeah. Rub some dirt on it.
It's funny that you mentioned that because they almost had to push back that because there were so many people that were actually sick. Yeah. Just want to touch on 2 more guys, and then we'll jump into a couple other things. But I think probably for me, 100% for me, the most disappointing, pissed me off, screwed me out of money is Matt Fitzpatrick shooting 72 today.
Ooh, yeah, I made sure to steer clear of him this week just because I don't like him at big ballparks necessarily.
Or birdie fests, I feel like. I might have gone wrong here. He's more of a just grind it out kind of player. I 72 though is even pars in 131st place.
It's a tough look.
And yeah, go ahead if you got anything to say about him, man.
Well, I just know, like, heading into the week, I think that clip of Ryan Palmer discussing TBC Craig Ranch kind of circulated a bunch, and he mentioned how it's probably going to turn into a putting contest, and I think a lot of people kind of saw that, heard that, and was like, okay, Matt Fitzpatrick, formerly Matthew Fitzpatrick, he can putt pretty well, so he should probably go well here. But I mean, 72 just isn't going to get the job done.
It's not. It's not. And there's one other guy, two guys, just because this guy, the story kind of sucks, is Bill Haas, right? You kind of know, I think it was it could have been 4 or 5 years ago at this point, when he got in the car accident at Riv. Mm-hmm. He was a top 40 player in the official world golf rankings, solid player. I mean, it hasn't been the same since. That's too bad, the whole thing with him, because he was, I mean, ascending to be a fantastic player, as was his dad. Anyway, I just want to bring that up. Okay, Lee Westwood shooting 1 under Lee Westwood, I feel like, is starting to kind of teeter off here a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he had a good run. I think everyone.
He did.
Was super happy for him. The story of him and his fiance on the bag.
And then he put his son on the bag, and it shit hit the fan.
Yeah. So I don't know who's on the bag this week, but if the trend prevails, it might be his son.
Exactly. He's going to be fired soon. All right. Last guy I'll bring up here, and then we'll jump into something else, and this is a guy I've just continue to fade based off of putting and chipping. Cameron Champ. I mean, you watch Cameron Champ. I could watch Cameron Champ hit drivers all day long. I mean, the swing's fluid, the swing's beautiful, the lag, and it's fantastic. He hits it a country mile for only weighing, 160 pounds, similar to Will Zalatoris. Is he just, I mean, what do we see from it? I mean, do you see any light at the end of the tunnel? It's just, the problem is it's hard to, because of the putting and the around the green statistics. He's 215 to putting. I mean, that's not going to get it done when we're talking about a tour where most guys tee to green are pretty decent. Putting's pretty much what separates it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think he ended it around like even or 1 under today, but he got it to like three or 4, I want to say. And the thing that I was surprised about was on the broadcast, they mentioned he was like 25% this season on sand saves, which is comically poor.
Yes.
Like, that's insane that a professional golfer gets up and down 1 out of 4 times from a sand trap.
Most pros, to an extent, would prefer being in the sand than in the rough, because the ability to control the spin on the golf ball. 25% that's got to be. That's got to be.
My jaw dropped.
I got that. I'm way more than 25%, man. I feel like.
Yeah, I don't know. About
that's not great.
Yeah, but
that's not great.
He's also kind of the type of guy who will just like show up and could win one of these less strong events, I feel like. And this week Sanderson Farms, Safeway, is that the other one that he won a couple years ago?
Throwing out a John Deere Classic or something.
Yeah, and so it kind of felt like that in a way this week. And he kind of had my attention leading up to it, but I decided to stay away just because, it was a big ballpark. He hits it a country mile. Went to Texas A&M. People were wild about the Texas guys this week. But
yes, it was is everybody. I feel like every single person that talks about golf, it was just like, hey, anybody that's associated with the state of Texas went to Texas. Yeah. we're playing them.
It's like Texas is a massive state. Like,
there's a lot of people that live there.
This isn't Rhode Island we're talking about.
It's no doubt, man.
I mean, I'm guilty. I bought into it a little bit, absolutely, but it's just funny, like that's what people are relying on somewhat.
That brings me to a point, and I don't know where he finished. The one disappointing Texas guy for most of the day was Doug Gim.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where Doug finished, but yeah, it don't matter. All right. So the next thing I wanted to bring up real quick, man, is the player incentive program, this $40 million. I'm sure that you've probably heard of it. If I'm catching off guard, I apologize, but I'm probably not. What do you have any thoughts on it? I know the backlash has been, of course, growing the game. Can we use this money in different areas specifically to trying to grow the game? Are we okay with just, I mean, the answer should be Tiger should just get the $40 million check until he's 70, but that won't happen.
Yeah. I mean, you've kind of noticed players are posting a lot more on, I mean, they're not posting, but their team's posting a lot more on social media.
Yeah.
And like, even I was watching Bryson, warm up today on PGA Tour Live, and he's kind of the king of content right now, it seems like. And he had his video guy right there. And, he's going Instagram Live all the time with his, I think the No Laying Up guys call him the TikTok house. And it's like Bryson's definitely loving it. Like, that's kind of the way to put it. But there's also, it's tough because they all say if you play well, everything will take care of itself. And it will to an extent, but it's like someone like Xander Schauffele isn't really attracting eyeballs to the game, even if he does win. Like he doesn't really have an outgoing personality, and that's not a slight at all. It's just who he is as a person.
He's going to make a shit ton of money, and
Yeah, but then you have Max Homa. Obviously, he won this year and everything, and he's super outgoing. And people love to interact with him. So it's an interesting concept. I think it's kind of in the right place. Like you said, all the money for the foreseeable future should go to Tiger. I mean, the purses that these guys are playing for are pretty ridiculous, and it's all because of him.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. That's it's crazy to look at. I mean, I'm 33, right? So Tiger era was like is peak everything for me. But to see this week, the purse is 8.1 million. Like, that wasn't a thing back then. Like, you didn't get 10 million for winning a FedEx Cup. Like, it's definitely changed. To your point, I mean, guys like Max Homa, Ben Hans, who is fantastic. I mean, there's lots of guys that are, you're right, that are going to probably start to be more interactive, whether it's them or I don't think Tiger Woods has ever sent a tweet ever, right? Like, that's somebody that's doing that. But it's interesting. Let me just ask this. Is Bryson just the most obnoxious, ridiculous person that you've ever seen?
I have a theory on some golfers.
I'm sure he's got theories about it too.
It's to me, I think he didn't really play team sports growing up. Like, you see Spieth and Brooks and DJ, kind of normal guys you would hypothetically want to hang out with. And that they, were involved in baseball, basketball, whatever growing up. And I think golf was all Bryson kind of had. And I remember growing up, playing AJGAs and different junior golf tournaments.
Sure. Me too.
Some of the kids were a little different. And I'd probably put Bryson in that category. His social cues are kind of lacking a little bit. I think he's getting better at them, but he just doesn't really understand how some of his actions are perceived, I say.
Yeah, no, and that's a good perspective. And listen, the cool part about golf too is to get all you don't have to be cool, or you could be nerdy, you could be golf. Golf's cool for anybody, right? That's the beauty of golf. You can play golf till you're 70, 80. Golf's different than a lot of sports in that way. I think his perception's getting better. I mean, if we look back 3 years ago, his perception was he was a ridiculously slow player that took 6 minutes to hit a putt playing with JT one time. We know it. We know it's what it was. And I saw you post something the other day. It's Bryson now he's saying how much he hates slow play when he was slow play not too long ago. And of course, he hits the ball now 50 yards further than he did, which probably helps with pace of play because he's the last person to play on every hole. But to get way off topic, is that not having the yardage book his crutch at Augusta? I mean, not his crutch. Is that his what makes it a failure for him around that place? Because there is no reason Bryson shouldn't not only win a Masters, but potentially dominate a Masters with the way the course is set up. I mean, think of 13. He could hit a flip wedge into 13. There's just so many opportunities for him out there. And for a guy that's so into the numbers, I mean, the damn dude had he's coming out with a compass and like, it's just incredible stuff. Like I've never even seen it before.
Yeah.
And that
people forget about that.
Yeah. But like, do you think, to get way off topic, you think that's like hindering his performance at Augusta because there's no other reason that he should not play well at Augusta National?
Yeah. I should also say I love Bryson. I think every time I see him on TV, I can't help but laugh one way or another, and it's awesome.
Well, he's content awesome for golf in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
Love everything that he's doing. For Augusta, I think Bryson's biggest advantage, and you heard Rory talk about it after he missed a cut at the Players, is his ability to hit his irons out of the rough. And you don't really get that kind of rough at Augusta. And the courses you've seen Bryson win at, since his transformation was complete, you had Winged Foot and Bay Hill. And you could throw in the Rocket Mortgage. I'm kind of throwing that one out. That was shootout, not a great field, whatever.
Yep.
But the rough was super penal at the other two tournaments, and I think that's kind of his greatest advantage. It's not necessarily his distance off the tee; it's how he hits his irons out of the rough. And Rory even said it's extremely underrated when he said he was like chasing Bryson's distance.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Not to that point. One of the other things that Rory said, which the whole thing was bananas, and that's why Rory's transparent, and because nobody else is basically going to say that they lost their swing because of Bryson or something along those lines. But the thing he said is, even with his wedges and they're 7-iron length, so with the longer club, you have the ability to get more speed through the hitting area. It's a great point. I mean, what Bryson did at Winged Foot was. I guarantee Rory was not the only player taken aback by that and started to say, hey, what do we need to do? I mean, we know like guys like Tony Finau. Like Tony Finau could potentially be as long or longer, in my opinion, than Bryson. I mean, you've seen some of the numbers Tony's just put up in fun. It's different, but he definitely kind of put people on the map. And again, that's why he's – with Spieth, I mean, it's great for the game. I think he's crazy and annoying, but I can't hate it because it's good for golf. Like him, like celebrating a touchdown after he hit it over the water on Bay Hill on the par 5 was incredible. I've just never seen anything like that. But you're right. I mean, it's interesting to see how. Like, are we going to know how the statistics numbers wise in this player incentive program are going to play out? Like, are they going to show us the raw numbers of who's getting paid what and how that works?
I haven't read. I know there's like different varying, stuff they're looking at. There's like a bullet point list. Truthfully, I didn't read too much into it. I don't know either. Yeah. Because I'm assuming, of course, some of this is based off of recent form and whatnot.
So before we get out of here, man, and again, I appreciate you coming on at Amateur Status on Twitter. Find all the stuff fantastic. We much appreciate you. Let's jump over to Kilo real quick. Guys you like?
Yeah, so I have 3 bets as of now. I hit on Hatton 50-1 when early in the year when he was in Abu Dhabi. And that one I'm kind of
feeling a little sketchy about that one.
I'm indifferent about it, right?
Yeah.
I took Bubba last week at 100. That was right before I think he doubled 17 and 8.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I was going to give you a hard time about that because I saw that and then he started dunking balls in the water down the stretch and it was like, damn, man, that doesn't seem. But you're right. He's actually been playing under the radar well.
just getting them out of the way early.
Exactly.
And, another long Pete Dye course, on water, Whistling Straits, he played well there a couple times. I think in 2012, he was just outside the top 10 in Kiowa. I'm not putting too much stock in it, but something to hang your hat on. And then I bet Mark Leishman earlier this week.
You've loved Mark Leishman. I've noticed over time following you, you love Mark Leishman.
It's horrible. It's not worked out for me. I think one of my friends essentially had an intervention for me, and it was like, you just
need Mark Leishman, dude.
You need to stop.
That's fantastic.
But
he played well today, by the way.
I figured he'd play well this week, so I wanted to get on him before that happened. So I'm on him as well. And then one guy I'm looking into very seriously is Cam Smith. I think there's like a 42 out there on him. And his game's, not the irons necessarily, but his game's kind of similar to Spieth in the way they can get up and down from anywhere and put the lights out of the ball.
His putter's rock solid, dude.
And so I have this made up narrative in my head that someone from Australia is going to win next week. And he's obviously at the top of the
list. Okay, that's fun. So that makes me think of somebody. Jason Day. I know where is Jason Day, since the win at Whistling Straits, just been beyond disappointing overall. I mean, I know he's been fine as far as making cuts. I mean, his game it's okay, but he's not contending. I mean, since Whistling Straits, in pretty much what I could argue was one of the most precise ball striking sessions I've seen in forever. Just kind of falling off the face of the earth. I know health issues and whatnot, but he's kind of surprisingly been off the map.
Yeah, and people forget he kind of took it to Spieth in that final round too, which was incredibly impressive. But like you said,
sad.
I mean, what could have been? Hey, this year. But I mean, yeah, the injuries. He had vertigo at Chambers Bay that one year. Matt Jones, I can get on with that as well. Tim Wilkinson too, maybe. I'm just replying to JT.
I'm gonna tell you, your boy Timmy Wilkinson did not have himself a day out there today.
He'll come around.
He'll bounce back. He was getting the bad shots out of the way, like with Bubba. He's getting them out.
I don't even know if he's in the field for the PGA. I'm not confident that he is. But back to Jason Day.
Yeah,
it's weird because he's been striking the ball pretty good lately, and the putter's been just horrid. And when he was at his best, he was an amazing putter. He was one of the best putters of all time. He was on Brad Faxon's top putting list, alternate, but it still counts.
Yeah, that's a factual list. That's a concrete list there.
It's true. So I think he could. The pieces of the puzzle are there for him, and the fact that his historically strong suit is what's holding him back should honestly be cause for excitement, in my opinion, because we've seen him putt lights out before, and so you would assume he'd be able to do it again. It's a big assumption, but
yeah, I mean, no doubt though. I mean, you're right. His peak when he was playing his best golf, I mean, between making every 10-footer in from anywhere and that little no hinge chipping motion he has, similar to Steve Stricker. I mean, the guy's short game is fantastic. But again, it's not. It's I don't want to say it's. I think it has some similarities to what Ricky Fowler's going through, to where he's dealing with other things in his swing that maybe the time and whatnot hasn't been put forth to the short game as much as it should be. I mean, it's certainly possible. But yeah, what about, let me ask you about a name here. Just a name out of my ass. Patrick Reed.
Oh, okay.
Just let's talk about the person, Patrick Reed. What are your thoughts on Patrick Reed before we get into Patrick Reed's chances at Keeper?
I am a massive fan of Patrick Reed. I'll die on the Patrick Reed hill. Absolutely.
Let's stand on the hill together, man.
he's kind of in the same realm of Bryson almost when it comes socially, where he doesn't understand quite a lot. I don't know if you read his like Golf Digest interview and saw the video. That guy can cook a steak for me.
Yes,
7 days a week if he wants to.
That was my takeaway. That was my takeaway from the interview as well. Is like the thought and like he sears it, he puts it in the oven. Like I would eat a Patrick Reed steak, absolutely.
Yeah, but as a player, he doesn't really garner a ton of respect in the betting markets typically, and I don't know if that's because people just don't like betting him because of who he is and what he's done in the past, but. My first big hit was his Masters. I remember, I think it was like my senior year of college. And one of my best friends is the biggest mush in the world. And he put money on him on the back nine, like minus 300. And he was sweating bullets. And he didn't tell any of us. And he's like, oh my God, I just won more money than all of you guys combined. I put, X amount on it. He was like, but I didn't tell you because I knew you'd hate me. and so I have a soft spot for Reed just because of that. And I mean, he wins a ton. He wins big events at hard courses. I don't know if
talk about a short game. I mean,
oh yeah,
yeah,
ridiculous.
It's interesting with me with Patrick Reed because. In the interview that you're referring to, I think the question was asked somewhere along the lines, and I want to quote it specifically. But it was somewhere along the lines is the villain, kind of role. Do you thrive off that? And he said, no, my ass, he doesn't thrive off that. I feel like he embraces it. I really do. And I feel like that's why he's such a strong match play player. Just because that's kind of how he is. And listen, man, it's tough because he's immediately, I don't want to say immediately labeled a cheater or whatnot from the Augusta State days and being kicked off the team and just some of the things, something that happened in the Bahamas. But if there's one guy that I want on my side and we're playing match play, we're doing it, it's Patrick Reed. And I think, he does an amazing job of just kind of tuning out everything. All the noise from the outside. So that was just one other guy I wanted to bring up to you. But yeah, man, Kiowa next week. I haven't seen what the weather looks like or whatnot. It's going to be a tough battle. It's going to be tough sledding for lots of guys out there.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts? Anything going into next week, man?
Not a whole lot. Yeah, like you said, something to look at might be like AM, PM weather splits if the wind is a bit calmer in the morning and whatnot, because I remember 2012, that Friday was like brutal. Like Paul Casey, Martin Keimer, I think they tossed out a couple like 85s. Some of the PGA pros were in the 90s, and they're no slouches at all. And so if it gets like that at some point, weather split could be a deciding factor.
It's a good point to the PGA pros too, because I was in the PGA program for a long time, not anymore, but like, man, playing Kiowa at 75 or 76, whatever the hell they end up playing it at, it's just, that's not even fun. There's going to be some of those numbers that get put up. This is what happens every year that something's played at Kiowa. Somebody shoots like 92 and everybody laughs at them like their ass could shoot 92 out there at that point. It'll be a lot of fun. And for a PGA, and I'm interested to see how they set it up, because you're right. I mean, if the wind comes in off the ocean, it's nearly impossible to get around that place. But they have to set it up some way. I mean, we haven't seen PGA Championships set up like US Opens, but the course itself kind of dictates that. I expect them to slow it down a little bit, make it somewhat playable for a PGA Championship, but we'll see. It'll be fun, man. If you've never been to the funny thing about this last thing, if you've never been to Kiowa Island, it's literally an island right there, just off of Charleston, and there's one road in and there's one road out. Mm-hmm. So just getting to the event, it will take you hours to get over the bridge because of the one road. It's a disaster. Fun golf course. It's going to be a lot of fun. Again, man, I appreciate you coming on. I had a really good time. Thanks for dropping by. We'll have to do it again soon, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man, absolutely. All right, man. Well, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night, and we'll get out of here. Everybody have a good one.